what the fuck is going on in the world? Well, Stan Lee's dead. A new Beatles album's out. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has officially been announced for PS4, and Serena Williams is not a woman after all. I'm Johnny Massacre, and this is the Johnny Massacre Show. How's it going, people? Everyone all right? Yes, you know who I am, Johnny Massacre, your man in Japan, bringing you weird, wacky and wonderful news from around the world on a daily basis, Monday to Friday. So you probably already heard, but Stan Lee is dead. So Stan Lee is the guy basically behind Marvel. He didn't create Marvel. It already existed in some shape or form, and he was hired, I believe, as an intern. And then within a couple of years, as a 19-year-old, he was fucking running the show. And there was 3 people in Marvel. There was him, and there's 2 other guys. One was an illustrator. And people, I guess, assume that Stan Lee illustrated a lot of these Marvel characters like the Hulk and Spider-Man and stuff like that. But he wasn't an illustrator. What he did was he would write the script and write the story. So he'd come up with the ideas for these superheroes, and then the illustrator would draw it. So if you actually want to know what Stan Lee did, it's kind of difficult. If you go online, there's a lot of anecdotal stories about who's responsible for which superhero and who's not. But Stan Lee obviously was a fucking boss. He made himself the face of Marvel, and yeah, he died. He was in his 90s. So rest in peace, Stan Lee. I fucking love Spider-Man. Without a doubt, you are in large part responsible for Spider-Man, because you definitely wrote the stories. One of my favorite characters ever, along with Venom and whatnot. So yeah, that happened. One of my fans told me on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate that. I woke up and saw that. So some of you people watching are actually trying to feed me content, which I really appreciate. In other news, there's a new Beatles album out. So I listen to the Beatles nearly on a daily basis. I fucking love the Beatles. They're so fucking good. Seriously, listen to all their albums back to back about 5 times each in succession. It will change your life. They're the most creative, heaviest, wickedest group ever. And the way that it sounds, the technological accomplishment, the studio innovation is just insane. This bad boy here, wonderful technology. This is the same technology used in the Beatles studio. Back in the day, they had in-house engineers that developed technology specifically for the Beatles that wasn't designed for the mass market, so no expenses were spared in the creation of this technology. Now, luckily, we can still get it because Abbey Road, which is the recording studio where Beatles recorded most of their stuff, released the schematics to a company called Chandler, who now developed their vintage gear. But anyways, I digress. The Beatles are basically just amazing in every fucking way, shape or form, and I'm telling you that as someone who's seriously into music production. And I saw this album on iTunes, Apple Music the other day. God, I've started to hate Apple. Anyways, I saw it on there and I thought, God, has this always been here? When I listened to it, and then I just went onto Metacritic, even though I said I'd never go there again, but I did. I couldn't help it. I keep crawling back to Metacritic, see what's going on in the world. And it's got a perfect 100 score, this new Beatles album. So what is it? It's the White Album, but they've just remastered it. So mastering is making music loud. It's not as easy as turning up a volume fader. As I've said before on this show, you have to use a lot of pro gear in order to make it louder, process it, squash the dynamics, equalize it, and what have you. And I honestly, in my life, as a connoisseur of sound and an elite sound selector, I can tell you right now, I've never heard any remastered album that was better than the original. Never. If the original is a classic, it's a classic for a fucking reason, because it was mastered really well. Case in point, The Chronic by Dr. Dre. That's a classic album. Suge Knight released some remastered version. It doesn't sound as good. It's a very subtle process, mastering, But when they change it, something is wrong in your brain. This sounds kind of wrong. There's no way some cunt's going to enhance that. It was a magical moment in time where the stars aligned, the creative and the technical, and it should be left the fuck alone. But no, they've gone back and fucked with it. In all fairness, it is the producer of the Beatles, his son, George Martin's son. And he's had a hand in it, and he's obviously produced this project. But as soon as I put it on, I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. It has this kind of almost, this is going to sound well harsh, God rest his soul, George Martin, but your son has fucked up here. It's almost vomit inducing when I listen to it. I'm very sensitive to sound. Something's amiss. It's kind of, it sounds too clean and too shiny and too forced into this current kind of pop shape, this pop dynamic, this pop mold. And it's just all fucking wrong. The originals are just perfect. You cannot get more perfect than the Beatles. So why try to fuck with it and better it? Because of money, of course. So anyways, I hate the mastering on this. I absolutely hate it. The good thing is they've released shitloads more tracks, which are basically the same tracks that are already on the White Album. But they are rehearsals and versions that never came out. So it's really interesting. You get to hear some of the chemistry of the Beatles. And there's shit like this already floating around online on torrent sites and stuff. But according to Apple Music, some of the songs on here are like Holy Grail or something. The Isha demos. I don't even know what that is. But Apple Music in its press release, there's 27 Holy Grail acoustic Isha demos, which were recorded at George Harrison's, the guitarist's house, following the band's consciousness expanding off-site in India. So, yeah, it's fucking long. The White Album was already long, and now there's millions of fucking tracks on here. So, it's probably worth checking out, but it just pisses me off to hear this beautiful vintage music kind of shunted into this shiny kind of pop mastering mold. I'm not a fan. Right, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has officially been announced for PlayStation 4. Twice I brought this up, I think, on the Johnny Massacre show. It's the Battle Royale game that was ruling the roost until that pile of shit Fortnite came along. That game that all kids can have because there's no blood in it and it's free, so mummy will let you download it. And it's all illustrated in bright primary colours that appeal to people who like drawing with crayons. That's taken over now, but PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is the best Battle Royale game on the market as far as I know. I know Call of Duty Black Ops has jumped into it. Ah, God, these big sequels, they get really tiresome, don't they? But PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, when I played it on Xbox, it was fun. It's coming out on PlayStation. I know that there's a lot of people who are unhappy with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds on the Xbox. They said it's not finished and it's kind of a demo. My mate Luke was telling me that Sony are much stricter with their quality control. So hopefully this version of PUBG will be a lot better than the Microsoft one. So there's a little launch video and shit, which we should probably check out. So let's have a little listen, shall we, people? Have a look at this. Let me open it up for you. Here we go. God, the graphics are terrible. This is really bad advertising. How many times have you seen this crappy ad idea where, oh, stuff from the game comes to reality? Wow, this is possibly the worst advert I've ever seen for a game. But it doesn't matter because the game's pretty good. So, available December the 7th. There you have it. It is now official. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is coming, people. So finally today, Serena Williams is basically a man. Let me explain. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to take you over to CNN. Here we go. Have a look at this, right? CNN says Serena Williams named GQ Woman of the Year, but cover sparks controversy. Oh, my SJW sense is tingling. So here we are. Here is the cover. So what do you think is controversial about this? It says GQ, there's Serena Williams standing in the middle, and it says Woman of the Year, and man is crossed out. So I guess if you're a sensible person, You probably say this is kind of misandric shit talking on men. I crossed a man out and put woman there. Imagine if it was the other way around, like woman was crossed out and man was on there. Which would be fine, really. But people will do their nut. Oh my god, it's sexist. I'm so offended. Shut the fuck up, SJWs. Well, what is going on here? People are pissed off because not because man's been like scrawled out, but because woman is in quotation marks. So I guess it's implying she's not really a woman. She's kind of like a man. Obviously, they never intended it to be like that. It's just some design decision. So I'm loving this. This is the cannibalization of SJWs. SJWs want to destroy all men and give women a helping hand here. See, this is for a men's magazine. There were 4 covers and 3 of them were men of the year and 1 of them was woman. It's like, don't let the women feel left out. They're going to be sad. Let's put a woman on the cover. Here you go, darling. Well done. You're included too. Women are not fucking babies. It's not like having the fucking egg and spoon race where the egg fucking cracks. So we've got to help this shitty contender. Let's give them a wooden egg just painted so they can succeed too. Everyone who plays is a winner. No, we don't need this infantilizing of people in general. But GQ are doing it. Come on, women. Want to put a woman on the cover? Don't worry, darling. They've done it for SJW reasons, for social justice reasons, and now they're being attacked for it. So the social justice warriors who wanted to see women on there are now attacking GQ for doing that. So they're kind of cannibalizing each other because they're just angry, miserable people, and this is to be expected. But I thought it was pretty funny. But look at her. You have to admit, she does look like a man. If this woman came up to you in a bar, and yeah, woman in inverted commas is correct, you would be pretty fucking terrified if she offered to buy you a drink. You'd be thinking, man, if I took her home, after you've had a few, you're a bit drunk and you're kind of considering it. If I took her home, you might, fumble around in her drawers and find your hands firmly clenched around her wing-wang. Who knows? She definitely looks like a geezer. So I think it's correct that woman is in inverted commas here. So that's about it for the news today. That's what the fuck is going on in the world. And now it's time to go into my world and talk about my life. Oh shit, that was a bit jerky and what have you. I don't want this to crash. As you know, the Johnny Massacre show's had quite a lot of technical problems recently. I'm always battling with technical problems. So I really just don't want this show to fall apart at the seams. I had to cut that little bit of music short in case it made my computer choke and the CPU overheat, overload. We wouldn't want that, would we? What's going on in my life? Oh man, just loads of bollocks basically. Loads of fucking bollocks. I'm in limbo. I'm waiting for some business shit to resolve itself. I can't really go into any details. I can't tell you about my life. It's a bit shady. It's a bit grey, but it involves money, and I'm trying to like scrabble around for the loose change that I can. I was hitting it big for years, I tell you. I was making loads of money, more than a doctor. But then the government came along and they were like, mate, I'm going to fuck you up. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. So I'm still in this process right now. It's all money, 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 time, and just trying to fucking deal with the fallout of some crazy bureaucratic red tape laden bullshit in Japan. I'm going to try to hit the mailbox because there was a couple of questions that I should have answered a long fucking time ago. One is from Wait Gamer. He says, as per your request for us to submit questions to you, here are my questions requests. Will you please describe why and how you moved to Japan? I moved to Japan because I played video games when I was young. They were all Japanese. When you're young, you don't question anything. You just absorb it. So I was unwittingly absorbing all this Japanese music and art in the form of Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario. And then progressively, every little tiny bit of contact with Japan in the form of art or imagery or photos or videos or food just made me love the country more and more, to the point where I realized I just have to go there. This movie, my favorite movie of all time, was based on Japan. At the time, Japan was in an economic bubble, so the producers of the film, what with the movie they were producing being set in the future and all, decided that the vision of the future would be full of Japanese characters because Japan would have taken over the world. So that movie being based on Japan made me feel like Japan was a movie in which I could star, because I'm very creative and I'm always imagining myself as some kind of, I don't know, like an action hero or like someone from a movie. That's me, and I'm kind of walking around in a movie. I'm creative. That's just how my brain operates. So when I saw, basically what I'm saying is when I saw pictures of Tokyo and stuff and videos, it looked like that movie. So I felt if I go to Japan, it's going to give me a lot of creative stimulation, which it did. There's a movie which influenced me to go called Lost in Translation, and that's such an accurate depiction of Japan. If you haven't seen that, make sure you do. That is what it feels like to kind of go to Japan for the first time, and all signs pointed towards there. So I got a working holiday visa, which is a free ticket to Japan. You can work there for a year. Then I changed my visa and I just kept going. The Wait Gamer also asks, after spending time in Japan, why did you return to England, and then why did you move back to Japan? So I went back to England after a year and a half. I was out of control. I was smoking like 20 cigarettes a day, drinking every day, getting into fights and shit, and like just being like ridiculously promiscuous, like trying to fuck as many Japanese girls as I could. And you know, these are the things that all guys want to do, but actually when you get what you want, it fucks you up, man. That life of like bitches, booze, and fucking pissing around, that's not going to get you very far. So I was a bit of a victim. I was blaming the world for my problems, and I was like, fuck you, Japan, I'm leaving. And then when I left, as soon as I got off the plane, I realized I had made a huge mistake, and so I came back. So thank you, Wait Gamer, for your question. Now, another gamer, Mr. Zucchini Gamer. I do like zucchini. We call it, do you know what we call zucchini in England? We call it courgette, and I believe it's courgette. It's a French word. I fucking love that shit. In Japan, zucchini's good, man. You can eat it with like nothing. Just boil that shit and eat it. I've got one over there. I might cook it up. So Mr. Zucchini Gamer asks, hey, Mr. Massacre, how are the SJWs in Japan? There are no social justice warriors in Japan, thank God. I think it's to do with women just being really hot. So men don't have time to piss around and do that shit. They don't have to act like a beta in the hope that they'll get a woman, because there's just so many hotties around, and I think Japanese men are quite introverted and quite beta anyways, so there's no need for them to evolve into betas in order to get ladies. It's something to do with the women, I think. They're just really, really hot. Men are focused on that. They're not focused on fucking social justice, because they're just always following around these hot babes that are just coming out of the walls, left, right, and center. And as far as female SJWs, because the women are hot, they've got no need to be an SJW. They're very feminine. They play up to their femininity. They try to be beautiful. Makeup sales are just out of control in Japan. I think Japan's the highest consumer of luxury brands in the world. And women are just fucking buying that shit up and looking beautiful. They don't have to normalize being fat and ugly and blame it on other people, blame it on the patriarchy, because they don't let themselves go. And I guess that's why there's no SJWs in Japan. So that's about it for the Johnny Massacre show today. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, hit that like button, smash that like button, tell your friends, because the more people that like this show, the better it's going to become. And then when this has, I don't know, 200,000 subscribers, I'm going to call out all those motherfuckers online, all those SJWs, all those people chatting shit. I'm going to fucking tear into them, but I need your help to do that. So make sure you like and subscribe and share. Do what all those other YouTuber cunts tell you to do. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Good night.